Hi everyone, welcome back to Soul Sync. I'm Jessica, and before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to help others find this content who may be in need of a little guidance on their journey towards navigating life transformation, change, or spiritual awakening. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's jump into it. Today for you, I have 5 signs that you are spiritually awakening. So these are five very common experiences that people have when they are starting to spiritually awaken, or they've sort of been awakening for a little bit but have not known what's been going on with them. So sign number 1 is that spiritual information will start flowing to you, such as this video. So if you're watching this, there's a good chance that you may be now or in the very near future starting your spiritual awakening journey. And other spiritual information that people tend to come across, which they may not know is spiritual in nature, is they may start seeing repeating number sequences. They may start seeing a particular type of animal all the time. So butterflies, dragonflies, cats, things like this, owls even. Owls are a pretty big one actually for many people, but you will just have new information coming to you that you either have not been exposed to before, or maybe you have come across it in the past and there was no resonance there. So it came to you, it didn't catch your attention, you're kind of like, oh yeah, whatever. And say, it's 5 years later now and the same book comes across your path, like the book The Secret or something. And, 5 years ago, you're like, oh, this looks lame. It looks boring. I'm not going to read this. It's just a bunch of nonsense. Now it comes to you and you're finding meaning in the messages. So this is a really big sign because sometimes it just takes a couple times for things to cross our paths before those neurons start firing together, before we make the connection, and before it really starts activating us on that repetition. And what you will also notice is that as these things are coming to you, you will have a natural inclination to seek out more. So you'll want to know more, you'll want to fact check, you'll want to cross check, you'll sort of find yourself going into this deep well of information seeking and, watching videos, reading articles, reading blogs, finding websites, Googling everything under the sun that you're coming across that catches your attention. But just this massive influx of spiritual information, higher level consciousness information, techniques for higher degree of agency and manifestation in your life, a lot of little tidbits that are sort of like stepping stones guiding you through those initial stages, those initial first steps on your awakening journey. And another way that spiritual information can come to you during this process is you may have vivid, memorable dreams. So this is something that I experienced. This was one of my first signs, actually. My dreams, I've always generally had very vivid dreams. And, I could remember them for a bit of time after I wake up or, throughout the day, and then they sort of fade. But when I sort of started on this path, on this journey, when I was listening to my intuition more and letting my inner voice be my guide instead of thinking about what I should be doing or what others wanted me, expected me to do, I noticed that my dreams really amped it up with their vividness, and also they would stick with me for a really long time. So, one other point is that they were also very meaningful. They seemed very deep and very impactful for me, such that when I woke up, not only were they vivid and memorable and still very fresh and alive in my mind, but I woke with a like an emotional impact from the dreams. And not in the sense where you have a nightmare and you wake up and your heart is racing, something like that, but I just would be waking up and I would feel affected. I would feel like there was something there. There was some key or some little jewel of information, a little gem hidden in there for me. And so I started keeping a dream journal. And I highly recommend this for anyone who has the patience for it, the desire for it, the commitment, because it does take commitment when you have those, days where you may be sleeping in a little bit late and then you just want to get on with your day. But it is worth it, because when I went back and read some of my dreams, it was amazing how insightful they actually were for either what I was going through at the time, because dreams can sort of be a little bit, I don't want to say mysterious, but there's a lot of symbolism, not necessarily like direct communication of here's what's going on in your life, here's how to fix it, but there will be little clues in there that are wrapped up in symbolism, little hidden meanings that sometimes upon retrospect really carry a lot of wisdom for us. And so as I was looking through my dream journal, I noticed a lot of instances of that. And so I started paying more attention to my dreams, which strengthened my intuition and made a lot of my personal spiritual awakening process smoother than it formerly had been. So if spiritual information is starting to flow to you, it could be a very good indicator that you are now or soon will be embarking on your spiritual awakening journey. So congratulations, I'm so excited for you. If you found this video, this could be one little confirmation for you that you are about to take a big quantum leap forward in your life experience. Now, sign number 2 is that you may start feeling very disconnected from life, from your usual routine, from the things that you used to enjoy, you normally enjoy. You may just sort of feel like everything is a little bit far away from you, like you're not fully engaged. You're still there, you still show up, but it just doesn't do it for you anymore. It's like it just kind of seems not important. You feel like there's something else, and that something else is not necessarily here yet, but you're sort of in that void between the old that you were fully engaged with and present in, and the new that hasn't necessarily shown up, or if it has shown up, maybe you are just not quite a match to meet it yet. So it may be there, but we're not seeing it yet. So if you're feeling like you're just kind of like checked out in general from your work, so you're just kind of like going through the motions at work, hobbies are just kind of not really floating your boat anymore. You're still doing them and there's still some enjoyment there, but it's not as enthralling as it used to be. You're not quite as passionate about it anymore as you used to be. If you feel like where you live is just kind of meh, and maybe you're kind of thinking like it would be nice to move. These are all signs that you are just sort of in this void period where you're a little bit disconnected from life because you're transitioning. You are at a pivot point, and when we pivot, we're changing directions, right? So in order to change directions, we sort of have to slow down momentum for the direction we were going in, where we were headed, how we were living, the routines that we were participating in, that we had sort of structured within our lives. So at this pivot point, everything seems to sort of slow down, and that's where we feel disconnected because we are slowing down on the inside. That connection to the old is starting to lose its power or strength, or its hold in our lives, so that we can really redirect that energy into the new that we'll be entering as we continue to keep evolving. Now, number 3 is that you may start having what I would call like insightful breakthroughs. So, say you're feeling disconnected in life, and these don't necessarily have to go in this order. You may not experience all of these. Maybe just a jumble of when they pop up. You could have three of these pop up at the same time, but you may start experiencing insightful breakthroughs. So if you are, say, a little bit disengaged with life and you're kind of like, oh, I'd really like something else, really like something more. I don't think this is the way that I've been living or the work that I've been doing. I don't feel like it's really a match for me anymore. But I don't necessarily know what to do yet. You may have little moments where ideas just sort of pop in your head. And I call those insightful breakthroughs because in the moment, they can be exciting if it's something that we really resonate with and it seems like it would be a lot of fun. And at other times, they could just seem very random, almost like a daydream that we enjoy the thought of, but doesn't really seem realistic to actually do. It's very important when we have these insightful breakthroughs to write them down, to get very disciplined about documenting them so that we can go back and reflect on them at a later time when we are not in the moment or we're not in the middle of something because these things sometimes just pop into our mind when we're busy with something else because we're open to receive them at that time. Our attention is on something else. So there's a little bit of space created within us for these to sort of drop into our mind. But it's important to document these because they often carry a lot of powerful direction. They don't have to be these grand, glorious ideas, game-changing ideas, but when you stack them together, when you start, kind of painting a picture with all of these little insights you are receiving or that you have throughout the days, you'll start to see there's a theme in there for you. And when you start to string them together and sort of synthesize the message that's coming through, it really helps to chart that path forward for where you are being called to go, where you are being led by your soul, your inner self, your higher self, however you want to name or think of that higher wisdom that we all have within ourselves that we don't always listen to because we're so attached to our brains, to our minds. Those little insightful breakthroughs that just sort of pepper into our lives carry a lot of information for us. So if you are experiencing that where you're having new thoughts you might not have ever had before, there are little exciting ideas that are just sort of like, boop, all of a sudden they're there, you have the thought and you're like, wow, that kind of got me excited for 5 seconds or 10 seconds or really sort of added a little positive moment to my day. You may be spiritually awakening, and those are little messages, little signs, little postcards, if you will, from your higher self and your soul, giving you little bits of the treasure map to your new direction that you're pivoting into. Now, sign number 4 is you may experience false starts. This is something that hit me very hard during my spiritual awakening, in part, or I should say in combination or maybe amplified by my own stubbornness or resistance to change in some instances. But I was having a lot of insightful breakthroughs, almost to the point of overwhelmment, because I wanted to do it all. And I wanted to try it all, experience it all, succeed at it all, just be this person that could just do everything and anything, right? And I was very overambitious. And so when I started narrowing down, trying to figure out what like the core of all these ideas was, I started taking action towards, one of them, and then I would kind of layer on another one after some time. And what I experienced that was really discouraging for me on my journey is I had a lot of false starts. Things would be very exciting in the beginning, I would invest a lot of my energy into it, a lot of my positive affirmations into it, my goodwill. I really wanted to succeed. I wanted to do so good for others in the endeavors that I was pursuing. And yet, nothing was really taking off for me. And I really took that hard during the process because I was like, I'm giving it my all. Like, I'm maintaining this positive attitude. Like, I'm so ready to help people. I'm ready to contribute in positive ways. I know what I'm talking about. I know that I know the information and I can really help a lot of people. And things just were not going anywhere. You know, I might have gotten a little bit of traction here and there, but it wasn't enough to actually say or, you know, feel like that was truly success for me. I didn't feel like I was as successful as I had hoped to be. So it's really, these false starts are inspirations followed by challenge or failure. And I have a lot of wisdom that I've acquired from that, which is the silver lining that I now use to help coach my clients and guide them through some of those more challenging experiences of life transformation, spiritual awakening, you know, just generally upgrading your current life. I really went through the ringer on that with false starts and having a lot of inspiration, putting a lot of energy into new things, and developing myself, and then seeing it just kind of not launch properly, not take off. So if that's happening to you, just know that that's a very normal part of the process for many people. It's really building our inner reserves, our inner strength, our determination. It's also, you know, there's that element of making us stronger. There's an element of sort of building resiliency with our motivation and what we truly want to pursue. And there's also an element of helping to refine our wisdom to truly identify what is an interest versus a passion versus a purpose. And that experience for me really helped me distinguish between those three. And while we're all still kind of refining things over time, I'm actually really grateful for that, for the ability to at least start that process and get a good barometer within myself for what is an interest versus a passion versus a purpose. And when you find your purpose, things will not always be smooth sailing, but they're not a dead end right from the get-go. So if you are experiencing false starts, you've had a lot of inspiration, don't worry. Just find the silver lining, see it as either building character for you, helping you become more prepared and more well-rounded emotionally, psychologically, spiritually for your next step, or see it as a universal redirect where you are following signs and excitement that you're experiencing down one path as far as that path is meant to take you, and, you know, just accepting, being humble and open to the fact that maybe you were only meant to go down that path so far because you got all the information you needed, or all the information from that path that you will then need for the next path. So we kind of fill up our backpacks with different skills and gifts along the way and sort of create our custom toolkit. So don't get discouraged. False starts are totally normal, but you may be spiritually awakening. Now, the last one that I want to talk about is something that really tends to get people stressed out and very discouraged from taking action, very disempowered. And it's a sense of feeling like you are lost in a thick fog. And what I would say as a prelude to actually describing this is, if you are feeling this way, I would really encourage you first to check in with your doctor and make sure that you don't have, say, like a vitamin or a mineral or nutritional deficiency. Check in, make sure there's not an underlying condition, medical condition in any way that could be driving this. Especially if this is just the only sign that you are experiencing. It's very important to make sure that our bodies are well, that our minds are well, and our emotions are well before we just kind of start assuming that we're on, a spiritual path or anything like that. If you are perfectly healthy, you have a good lifestyle, you eat well, exercise, take care of yourself, clean bill of health and everything else, but you just generally feel like you are lost in a thick fog, directionless, feeling like you have a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration, but feeling a little bit hindered from progressing, or you don't know what the right path is. And remember, there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad, but we have to use words to communicate. So if you're feeling like you don't know what the right path is, or the right thing to choose is, you don't want to make the wrong choice, you feel like you're kind of just spinning in circles in analysis paralysis, getting nowhere, trying something, changing direction, trying another, changing direction, it's a normal part of the process, and it really helps us to focus more inwardly. So this can be very stressful for a lot of people that go through this, because we go through our lives following a very clear program. So we go to school, if we do extracurriculars, we know what day of the week our sports practices, our recitals are, classes like art classes after school or whatever. We have a very clear program laid out for different activities at different stages of our lives. And even after we graduate college, you get a job and you know the hours you have to be there. You get a list of your tasks, which may evolve over time, but for the most part, you are told what you need to deliver in order to get your paycheck and remain employed. And so when we start going through the spiritual awakening process, a lot of that external direction, we get it, we're still following it, we're doing our normal routine, but on the inside, we just feel like we're in a fog. We have certain feelings that are rising up, wanting to change direction, feeling maybe like we don't know who we are anymore, losing touch with people, losing touch with places. We just generally feel listless and like we're drifting. So that's very, very stressful to have a sense of no direction or little direction, because our whole lives, that direction has sort of been laid out. And even if we don't know what college we're going to, we don't know if we're going to take a gap year between high school and college, we still know the college program. We still know that that's an option. We know the steps we have to take to apply, or changing jobs. We know we have to interview. There's usually like a role description. We know exactly the skills that are needed versus, I should say, required versus recommended versus preferred. There's always some sort of parameter, but when we start shaking up, kind of our own personal direction, our identity, really asking who we are, when we get activated unexpectedly, it can really be stressful to feel like we have no direction, because there's no rule book for this process, right? So we seek out a guide, we seek out a mentor, we watch videos like this, which, I've also done myself, looking for some sort of direction and camaraderie. This is where comments, you guys, leave your comments below. Comments are very uplifting for others, forming that sense of community, just even if we don't necessarily reply to each other or to another commenter, just to see that there are others out there makes us feel less alone and less directionless. We can share our struggles, share our successes, but if you are feeling stressed out and lost in a fog, be gentle with yourself. It does pass. It may come, kind of ebb and flow in cycles as you keep progressing along your awakening journey, as you continue to transform your life, If you don't identify with spiritual awakening, if that doesn't resonate with you, this also applies for life transformations. We will feel like we are in a limbo space sometimes, and not just limbo where nothing is moving, but true limbo where we don't even know what's going on. We really just feel kind of stuck and lost. This is totally normal. It's part of the process. I would highly recommend that you seek out a mentor or a coach, strong social connections, a community that you can connect with to help you navigate this often, for many people, challenging time. Some people are really good about self-regulating and managing themselves through the process emotionally. Others are not. But just seek out a community, and it's really helpful. But being in a fog, feeling like you're in a fog, is definitely a sign, barring any nutritional deficiencies or otherwise health conditions, a very good sign that you are starting to spiritually awaken. So I hope you enjoyed these 5 signs. Please leave comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye.